Opo.
Visible naman yung slide. So let's finish the general principles of drug action. So we stopped at molecular mechanism, no, and specialized molecules, which has the ability or responsible for slideshow from current slides. Okay. Yeah, no, are called which has complementary parts with the drug are called they're called receptors, and the degree of attraction between the receptor and the drug molecule is called affinity. If a drug has affinity and capable of producing an activity, it's called agonist. If the drug has affinity but is not capable of producing any activity, but the only thing that the drug do or the drug molecule do is to prevent the agonist from combining with the same receptor, it's called antagonist. No? Usually, pag sinabing blockers or anti, there is blocking. No? Hindi nakaka-combine the drug and the agonist and the receptor does not combine, and it can either be pharmacologic, kung pharmacologic ang binablock receptors. Kapag physiologic, no, usually these are physiologic antagonism occurs when you give two different drugs pero opposite ang effect. If one causes depression, you give something which counteracts the depression by giving a stimulant, increase-decrease, kumbaga. No, if one causes vasodilation, you counteract the vasodilation through vasoconstriction. It's physiologic. And then it could be chemical kung ang nire-reverse is chemical, yung acid-base balance. No? So we know that the best way of neutralizing an acid is to combine it with the salt, with the base, vice versa. And salt is usually inactive. No? Okay. So as we mentioned, there is no BFF, no, walang forever sa pharma. What goes in goes out. No? And there are three processes which is responsible for terminating the effect of the drug in the body. Yun lang, iba-iba lang siguro in terms, they're different in terms of yung how fast, no? But basically, there are three processes which can terminate or stop the effect of the drug in the body. One is called redistribution, no? The other is excretion. And the third process is called biotransformation. And alam naman, we know, no, that the most important organ for drug excretion is the kidney. And the most important organ for drug biotransformation or metabolism. Kasi sa drug, they don't call it metabolism. It's called biotransformation. Pero it's the same principle. No? So it's just called biotransformation. It's liver. Kaya nga, di ba, if there are two organs which is important in pharma, we always ask if you have kidney disease or if you have liver. No? What will be affected by the kidney is excretion. If you have problems with the liver, it usually interferes with the biotransformation or metabolism of the drug. Okay, so what is redistribution? No? So remember we said from the drugs or from the bloodstream to the tissue, it's called distribution. The mechanism by which drug reaches the target organ is called distribution. No? But in cases wherein there is no diffusion or movement ng molecules can occur, vice versa, pwedeng from bloodstream to the tissue. Now, the tissue now becomes an area of greater concentration. The bloodstream becomes an area of lesser concentration. Molecules that has been distributed to the target tissue or the site of action goes back into the circulation. Kasi habang dinidistribute yung while the drug is being distributed, no? And kailangan for the drug to be distributed, excreted, biotransformed, or distributed, drug has to be free. If it does not become free, no, hindi siya active, doesn't contribute to anything, doesn't even contribute to the effect of the drugs. So for a drug to have to move or to do something, it has to be in its free form. Kaya it's the biologically active form. No? So from bloodstream to the tissue, it's called distribution. And once the amount of drug in the bloodstream diminishes, syempre, dinidistribute siya. So the amount of the drug in the bloodstream becomes lesser and lesser. The bloodstream now becomes an area of lesser concentration. The tissue now, the target tissue, becomes an area of greater concentration. So what does molecule do? They go back diffusion. Bumabalik sila sa circulation. And the process is called redistribution. Molecules that come from the target tissue going back into the circulation, and the circulation now distribute it again to the different tissues. Kaya nga ang tawag sa kanya, it is called re. Di ba when you say re, it's again. No? Repetition. So usually, it's called redistribution. Molecules babalik. And then the bloodstream now distributed to the different tissues of the body. So in redistribution, usually redistribution occurs between the target tissue and the bloodstream. And not all drugs undergo the process of redistribution. For a drug to be redistributed, it has to be highly lipid soluble. No? Like example of a drug whose action is terminated by the process ng redistribution is thiopental. Pentotal ang brand name niya. No? Thiopental is a general anesthesia, GA, and usually given IV. So bibigay mo IV, highly lipid soluble yung gamot, it was given IV, so very fast ang distribution sa brain. So in minutes, patient is asleep already kasi bilis ng distribution. However, the amount of drug in the system also becomes less. So the area of the target tissue is more, babalik siya. The molecules in the target organs go back into the circulation. And while the molecules is going back into the circulation, the amount of drug in the target tissue, siyempre, diminishes, di ba? Kumukonti. So, while the molecules is going back to the circulation, little by little, the patient wakes up. Kasi nawawala na yung effect. The drug already loses its effect because it is not anymore in the target tissue. In the process ng redistribution, there's no decrease in the amount of drug in the system. There is no deactivation in the system. It is just that the drug is not anymore present in the target tissue. Kaya nawawala yung effect niya kasi it is not anymore in the target tissue. Sabi nga natin, for a drug to produce an effect, dapat nasa tamang tissue, tamang dosage. In redistribution, the effect ng drug is diminished or not to terminate because the drug is not in its target tissue. Okay? Another process is excretion, and the most important organ is the kidney. No? The amount of drug excreted by the kidney depends on three processes. No? Filtration, active tubular secretion, and passive tubular diffusion or reabsorption. Ang tawag doon is reabsorption. So, if you remember sa fish show, how is the process, how the kidney excrete waste product is also how the kidney excrete drug molecule. So first thing, di ba, once the drug is in the bloodstream, the blood carries it to the kidney together with the water. Di ba, ano yung osmosis, no? So difference in water. So as the water flows, and as I mentioned kanina, the Bowman's capsule, di ba, remember the kidney is made up of the glomerulus and you have the different tubules. And in the tubules, you have body fluid, no? Tawag nila doon, kidney, fluid, no? Body fluid. So, may pH din siya. So, as long as the molecule in the plasma is free, pag flow ng water, once the water flow, no, since very porous yung Bowman's capsule, it can be filtered. Lahat ng molecules, small, big, ions, non-ions, as long as the drug is free, it will be filtered together with the water. And then what happens to the water? The water is returned back into the circulation. Katayo, di ba, hindi tayo nadidehydrate. Kasi ang water lang, umiikot lang ang water, di ba? We learned that in physio. No? So basically, ang water just moves around the body. So once the water in the tubules is returned back into the circulation, the kidney tubules now becomes an area of greater concentration kasi lahat ng molecules nasa tubules na no? Together with the water. The circulation now becomes an area of lesser concentration. So what does non-ionized molecules do? Since they are non-ionized, they can go back. No? Basta greater, lesser, they just go back and forth. In excretion, the kidneys or the bloodstream becomes an area of lesser concentration. The tubule now becomes greater concentration of the molecules. Nawala yung tubig. So what does ionized or non-ionized molecules? They go back into the circulation for possible distribution again. No? And this is called reabsorption. What happens to the ionized? Ang ini-excrete ng kidney are the ions. Since they are not reabsorbed, kasi nga hindi na sila makabalik. No? They are not fat soluble. They cannot go back. This is usually excreted by the kidney. What happens to the non-ionized molecules? Since they are fat soluble, they go back to the circulation. And the process is called reabsorption. Ina-absorb ulit. Kaya the kidneys actually finds it very difficult to excrete non-ionized molecules because they are reabsorbed. Okay? Okay. So, how does the kidney excrete? Lahat naman ng gamot has to be excreted. No? And sabi nga, di ba, any organ which has outside communication is an excretory organ. Di lang naman kidney. Even the skin is an excretory organ. Kapag kuminsan, di ba, when you drink medicine, sometimes iba yung smell mo. Kasi ini-excrete yan. Milk is an excretory organ. Tears are excretory tawag nila doon, excretory substance, no? Any organ daw ng body which has outside communication is considered as an excretory organ. Saliva. So, those are excretory organs, no? But the most important organ is the kidney, of course. And lahat naman yan i-excrete. So, as I've said, the kidney finds it very difficult to excrete or eliminate molecules which are non-ionized kasi nare-reabsorb. So, anong nangyayari? What happens? Since the kidney cannot excrete non-ionized, it is first biotransformed. It goes into the process of biotransformation or metabolism. Ang tawag dyan, it's not called metabolism, it's called biotransformation. This is a procedure which produces chemical changes brought about by the body to the drug molecule. And if you remember in biochem, no, you have different process for metabolism. You have conjugation, hydrolysis, reduction, oxidation. And liver is the most important organ. No? Okay. Biotransformation is an enzyme-dependent process. Kailangan ng enzyme. The enzyme acts on the molecule and biotransform the molecule. Di ba yung mga, di ba you remember oxidase, hydrolase, yan may mga enzyme, no? Usually pag may ACE enzyme yan eh. So they are responsible for biotransforming, no? Biotransformation can be from active to non-active, di ba? From non-active to active or active to equally active. But one thing does not change, hindi nagbabago. If a drug is metabolized or biotransformed, drug is always more water-soluble and less lipid-soluble. Kailangan i-biotransform muna yung molecule. Kasi the kidney does not excrete non-ions kasi lipid-soluble. So it is first placed in the biotransformation tissues. Plasma is another tissue that can do biotransformation, di ba? Hindi lang naman liver. It's just that the liver is the most important. So it's an enzyme dependent and ita-transform muna yung molecule. And what do we call waste product ng metabolism? Anong tawag niyo doon? We call them metabolites. So papasok siya sa liver, active component. The liver now or the by mga organs, no, yung metabolic organ ba ang tawag doon? Anyway, ibabalik siya ngayon, no, into the bloodstream in the form of metabolites, which are waste product of the process ng metabolism. And one thing does not change. Metabolites are always more water soluble, less lipid soluble. Since they are less lipid soluble, they are less likely to be reabsorbed by the kidneys. Hindi na siya masyadong nare-reabsorb. So the kidneys actually excrete not only yung parent compound, but also yung metabolites. Metabolites are always less lipid soluble, so less likely to be reabsorbed. Okay? Why is the liver the most important organ for biotransformation? Kasi sa liver merong enzyme. There is an enzyme which is called the microsomal enzyme, no? Microsomes ang tawag nila dyan, which is found in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum of the liver. And this enzyme acts on the drug, always making the drug inactive. Sabi ko, di ba, metabolites can be more active, it can be less active, or it can be equally active as the parent compound. If you remember in metabolism, pwedeng active pumasok, lalabas, babalik as non-active. Meron ding non-active, di ba, lalabas siya active. Di ba may tinatawag tayong active metabolites, no? But one thing, the liver, no? In the liver, there is an enzyme which is called the microsomal enzyme. And this enzyme always deactivate the drug molecule. Humihina siya. Kaya nga, di ba, yung bypass, first pass, dumadaan sa liver, and pagkagaling sa liver, ilalabas siya ng liver, hindi na siya ganon ka-strong or ka-active as the parent compound. Kaya probably the liver is the most important tissue for that. Kasi always deactivated ang gamot. Nababawasan. And as we say, it's an enzyme-dependent process, no? So if a drug, ang tawag doon, if increasing the activity, nakukuha ba ako? Okay, sabihin nyo ha kung hindi nyo ako nakukuha. Increasing the activity of the enzyme is called enzyme induction. Pinabibilis yung activity ng enzymes in the liver. So, example of this is phenobarbital. No? May gamot na pag ininom yon, bumibilis yung liver, yung function ng microsomal enzyme. So, if you combine a drug, kaya mahirap yung mahirap yung nagko-combine. ng gamot. Kasi kailangan alam mo yung kino-combine mo eh. If you combine a drug whose metabolism is dependent on the liver with a drug that causes enzyme induction, mas mabilis ang deactivation ng isang gamot. Ang tawag doon is enzyme induction. Di ba pwedeng antagonism, pwedeng potentiation. So if you combine medicine, what could happen? Pwedeng antagonism, pwedeng additive effect, pwede ring enzyme induction. Pag kinumbine mo siya with a drug, whose yung isang gamot mo is causes enzyme induction, tapos co-combine siya with the drug who's dependent on the liver, mas mabilis ang deactivation ng gamot. Kaya pag multiple medication ka, dapat alam natin yung gamot. Luckily for us, konti lang naman yung gamot natin. So, hindi ganun kahirap, unlike sa medicine. Kasi nga, marami silang combination. Tayo naman, very seldom do we combine drugs, di ba? So, ano ba naman ang natin? Analgesic, what else? Antibiotic, yun lang naman ang madalas natin. Those are the drugs that we often use in practice. Okay? So, ang tawag doon is enzyme induction. Okay. Questions about termination. So, drugs in the body can be terminated through the process of redistribution. By the way, in excretion, what contributes to the termination ng effect? Kasi nilalabas mo. You're removing the drug from the body. So, the amount of the drug in the system diminishes. Unlike in redistribution, you've not wala pang binawasan, wala pang dine-activate, hindi lang siya present in the tissue. In excretion, what contributes to the termination ng drug activity is because the amount of the drug in the system diminishes. In biotransformation, okay, nadi-deactivate yung gamot. So that makes the drug less active. So nababawasan yung effect ng drug because of the process ng metabolism. Okay? Questions po? Okay, let's go to pharmacotherapeutics, So, there are two effects ng drugs, okay? You have the desirable and the undesirable. The side effect ng drugs are called therapeutic. Why are you giving the medicine? Because you want to cure, di ba? When you say it's treatment, we call it therapeutic effects, And we have the undesirable, which are called adverse. Undesirable effects ng drugs are called adverse. The study of the adverse effects ng drug is called toxicology, whereas the study of the therapeutic or the side effect ng drug is called pharmacotherapeutics. Okay. So, what are the factors that influence drug effects? So, we've discussed that, di ba? So, pregnancy, environmental factors, body weight, and composition. So, clear naman to. It also depends on drug factors. Depende how you administer. And then tolerance and sensitization. Diba we mentioned tolerance is the ability of the body not to be affected by the drug. Sensitization, yung it happens yung hindi ka naman allergic before, but since kain ka ng kain, so you can develop sensitization. Nagiging allergic ka dun sa effect ng gamot. May mga gamot that can do that. Yun ang sabi nila, kaya nga daw, one reason why when we give antibiotics, we don't give it less than 7 days. Kasi if you don't follow the prescription, yun yung isang effect ng, not good effect ng antibiotic. So if you're giving antibiotic to your patient, you tell the patient, you take it 7 days. At least 5 to 7 days. Ngayon yata, ine-extend pa ng 10 days. Kasi if you don't finish the recommended dosage, then you might develop sensitization. nagiging sensitive ka to the drug. Tolerance, nagiging insensitive ka. Sensitization, nagiging allergic ka. You follow? Minsan, di ba, naririnig, dati na naman akong kumakain nito o dati na naman akong umiinom nito. How come ngayon para ako nag-allergy? Baka hindi develop siya ng sensitization. And yun daw ang isang problem if you do not follow the recommended dosage for antibiotic. Okay? And then you have the, you know what's placebo effect? Yung wala naman talaga siyang gamot. It's just more of psychological, di ba? Meron silang tinatawag na placebo. Wala namang laman. There's no medicine in the dosage form sa capsule. Gaw-gaw lang, di ba? Sinasabi nila, kaya mura yan kasi gaw-gaw lang laman yan, o asukal lang yan, no? So wala siyang effect. But how come patients are cured? Feeling ng patient, gumaling naman siya. That's called placebo. And usually, pag nagtitest ng drug, tine-check din nila yan. Kasi may mga placebo. Merong isang grupo, no? One group will receive walang medication. Kasi tignan nila, no? And that's called placebo. Okay? Pwede rin niyang mali yung inom, no? Patient's errors, or hindi compliant yung patient. Okay. So many factors actually affect the effect of the medicine. Okay? So, kaya pag kung hindi rin lang naman iinumin, kung minsan ganun kung hindi rin lang naman iinumin ng patient, baka huwag na lang bigyan. Kung hindi naman talaga kailangan. Kaya yung isang friend kong cardio, he gives kasi it's, I don't know if you've heard of Inderal, yung propranolol. Usually yun ang binibigay niya. So, natanong ko, mas marami namang more effective or more, yung tawag dito, more recommended, no? Yung calcium channel blockers, actually, sabi nila, mas effective daw yan kaysa sa beta blocker. Pero siya, he likes to give Inderal kasi it's cheaper. And ang rationale niya is, bibigyan ko nga yan ng, I'll give a drug which is more expensive. Chances are, the patient will not take it. So might as well give something na which cheaper, but sigurado naman akong iinumin ng patient. So sometimes you have to consider also yung cost pag nagbibigay tayo ng medication. Mas effective nga siya, mas gusto mo nga siya. But if the patient will not follow, useless naman yung gamot. Get me? You follow? Like clindamycin, it's very expensive. Okay? Questions about pharmacotherapeutics? Okay, let's go to adverse drug reactions. So, you have different types of adverse reaction. One is called toxic, and yun na naman pag sinabi mong toxic, no? What's the difference between toxic and side effect? Usually, toxic reaction or toxic effect is because of exaggerated effect on target organ. Sumobra yung effect, we call it toxic. Usually sa target organ. No? When you say toxic, it's dose-dependent, unexpected, and usually more severe ang toxic. Diba? Di ka naman matotoxic kung hindi sobra, if it's not overdose. When do we normally develop toxicity is if the dose is too much. If you give it in recommended dosage, usually side effect lang, di ba? So toxic is unexpected, severe, and usually because of an exaggerated effect on the target organ. Side effect is dose-dependent, kasi usually side effects, no? Nakikita natin to. We see this if the patient drinks the recommended dose. Usually it's expected. Anong sinasabi niyo sa patient? Side effect lang yan. Nothing to worry kasi it's just the side effect. And usually, no, it results on the effect of the drug on the non-target organ. Okay, and then you have teratogenic. You know what's teratogenic? This is fetal development. It's the mother who took, a pregnant mother who took the medication, but it's the baby that shows the adverse effect. We call it teratogenic. And sa atin, as we mentioned kanina, yung tetracycline. So if you're planning to give tetracycline, you ask first if there is a possibility of pregnancy. And it's recommended we don't give tetracycline to pregnant women during the second trimester ng pregnancy because it can develop what we call tetracycline stains. Okay, and then it could be local reaction or it can be drug interaction. And usually drug interaction happens kapag kapag nagbibigay tayo ng multiple iba-ibang gamot, no, that you combine. So kaya dapat alam natin yung mga gamot na kino-combine. Yung pwede at hindi pwedeng i-combine. Okay. Based on teratogenicity, the FDA classified drugs into 5 categories. A and B are relatively safe. So if your patient is pregnant, you choose drugs which are classified as A and B. No possibility of developing toxic or adverse effect on the baby. C and D may be given, but the risk is increased, especially yung D. May risk of developing adverse effect on the baby. Yung mga anticonvulsants, yung para sa epileptic seizures, have you heard of Dilantin? Usually they're classified as D. Laki ng possibility. So may mga ibang doctors nga, I know, they do not encourage yung mother na maging pregnant, epileptic mother, especially kapag severe yung epileptic kasi nga usually nagda-damage ang baby. Physical, tawag dito, yung pwedeng maapektuhan yung yung brain because of the medication. So talagang kailangan mino-monitor yung patient. Kasi nga it can cause damage. Okay. So if you're going to choose if you're going to give medication, make sure it belongs to the A and the B. C and D, ito yung sinasabi nilang the means justify the end. Pag hindi ininom ng pregnant women yung gamot, baka magkaroon ng epileptic seizure. Pag ininom naman niya, pwede namang ma-damage yung baby. So, where do you go? Is the means justify the end? So, may risk, no? X, drugs which are classified as X, totally no indication for pregnant women. There is no condition where you can use these drugs for pregnant women. Mefenamic acid, medyo delikado yan sa pregnancy. Kaya nga, kasi I know most of you are very fond of giving mefenamic acid. Okay. Babantayan nyo sa mefenamic acid is allergy. Very prone yan sa allergic reaction. And kapag pregnancy, medyo alalay pagbigay ng mefenamic acid to pregnant women o may risk ng pregnancy. Okay? Questions po? So this is the FDA pregnancy categories, A, B, C, D, and X. X, well, talagang no use in pregnancy or in pregnant women. Okay, no? So another type of adverse is allergic. Iba ang toxic sa allergic, ha? Allergic or hypersensitivity reactions require the production of antigen-antibody reaction. So antigen is the allergen, and the allergen is capable of developing the antibodies. It's an antigen-antibody reaction, and di ba ang allergy usually it's unexpected unless the patient knows it, no? So most of the time nagugulat tayo, di ba? Ay, buti ko alam ng patient, no? And kuminsan mas mahirap pa nga ang allergy eh. Lalo na pag sinabi ng patient, di ko alam eh. If I'm allergic or not, di ba? Minsan mas mabuti pa ang toxic kasi alam mong if you give it in recommended dosage, very seldom, no, if not, no, magde-develop ka ng toxicity. Unlike allergic reaction does not depend on the dosage. It depends on the sensitivity of the patient. Kaya parang mas delikado ang allergy, no? And it can vary from mild to severe form ng allergic reaction. And alam natin, no, what do you call severe allergic reaction? We call it anaphylaxis or anaphylactic shock, and anaphylaxis is fatal. Ang maganda lang with allergy, yung ibang dentist, they don't do skin test anymore. Kasi non-allergen naman yung anesthesia na ginamit. Kasi meron, di ba, there is such a thing as delayed allergic reaction. Kaya yung iba, they don't believe in skin tests. Unless it's given IV. Kasi nga, may delayed reaction. Ang maganda lang sa delayed reaction, less severe usually. Mas delikado yung pagkabigay mo ng gamot, biglang lumalabas na yung symptoms, no? That is usually nagko-cause ng anaphylactic shock. Masyadong sensitive yung patient. So the faster ang effect, the faster ang reaction. So the more severe ang drug reaction. Okay? Questions po? No? So based on the antigen, antibody reaction, depending on the antibody that was produced, allergic reaction is divided into type 1, type 2, and type 3. Type 1 is called anaphylaxis. So the antibody is IgE, immunoglobulin E, and penicillin. Penicillin is capable of producing anaphylaxis, especially if it's given parenteral. Usually sa hospital, kapag IV, talagang nagte-test yan eh. I had a cousin-in-law, nagkaroon siya ng anaphylactic shock sa mefenamic acid. IV kasi. So, he died of anaphylactic shock in the hospital. So be careful of the drug, no, be careful of allergic reaction kasi nga mas unexpected eh. Usually allergic reaction is unexpected, not dose dependent, and it can vary from mild to severe. So remember, it's not in the dose. It's in the sensitivity ng patient. Okay. Type 2 is called cytolysis. It's cell destruction. So it's IgG and IgM. So usually it causes cell reaction. Now when you say lysis, diba, it's destruction. No? So example of drugs which are capable of causing cytolysis is penicillin. Penicillin is non-toxic, very safe, but highly allergenic. And please remember, amoxicillin is penicillin derivative. Penicillin siya. So, kayo ba nagtatanong kayo ng allergic reaction if you're giving amoxicillin to your patient? Penicillin can cause type 1, it can cause type 2, and the third type is called Arthus reaction. So, it's IgG. And they call it Arthus reaction kasi ang symptoms is like arthritis. Sa bone, sa joints. Okay? So, hindi siya yung usual na, ang usual that we experience is anaphylaxis, di ba? So, maraming form ng allergy. And one form ng allergy is yung tinatawag na Arthus reaction. So, what is, ang patient will complain of parang arthritis. It's the joint which is affected. And it can be caused by penicillin. Very allergenic ang penicillin. Sa atin, sa dentistry, up to now, the most recommended antibiotic in dentistry is penicillin. The best antibiotic daw for dental infection is penicillin. Okay, questions about type allergic. So you have toxic, and you have allergic reaction. Third is called idiosyncrasy. Idiosyncrasy refers to adverse effects which cannot be explained by any known pharmacologic effect. Parang walang rason. Parang di ba, meron ang tawag niya idiopathic, no cause. So drug, it's called idiosyncrasy. You know, I encountered a patient, allergic siya sa Biogesic, pero hindi siya allergic sa Tempra. Pag tinignan mo, pareho silang paracetamol. Yun lang ang Tempra yata, it's mas mababa. Kaya for children, 325 yata ang Tempra, whereas Biogesic is 500. So, sabi niya, hindi daw siya nakakainom ng Biogesic. Pero nakakainom siya ng Tempra. So, may mga ganong cases and it's called idiosyncrasy. Do you remember Rice, kung recall nyo yung Rice syndrome? Rice syndrome is a form of anomaly which is caused by aspirin. And usually ang Rice syndrome nakikita lang sa bata. Very seldom nakikita yan sa adults. And sabi nung friend kong pathologist, sabi niya, it's idiosyncrasy. Doc, bakit ang Rice syndrome nagmamanifest lang siya sa bata? How come adults are not prone to Rice syndrome? So usually, sabi niya, it's idiosyncrasy. So may mga ganon, na walang explanation. Okay. And the last form of adverse reaction is interference in natural defense mechanism. And the example of this is antibiotic. Why are you giving antibiotic to the patient? Because meron siyang bacterial infection. And in the process of treating the infection, you are creating another infection. Ang problem with antibiotic kasi nasisira yung flora, yung natural flora, no? So di ba alam niyo naman yung effect ng flora? Sabi nila, di ba, if there are two most the dirtiest part daw of the human body is the mouth and the stomach. Kasi ang daming mga microorganism which is found in the mouth and the stomach. And sometimes, since you're given antibiotic, it's not only the bacteria that you want to target, but sometimes it changes the environment. Bumababa yung immunity ng patient. So this allows mga more pathogenic microorganisms to proliferate. Usually, it's fungal. Most common form of supra-infection is fungal infection. So if you've been taking antibiotic or the patient has been taking antibiotic for so long, medyo, kaya nga may number of days eh. Dapat at least, no? Sabi ni Doc Yani, at least hanggang 10 days. But not longer than 10 days. Kasi magiging prone kayo sa super infection. It's an infection caused by because of the lessening in the in the immunity. And most of the time, the most common form ng fungal infection is or the most common form of supra-infection is fungal ang infection. So, yung konting sakit, antibiotic, konting sakit, antibiotic, baka nagiging prone na kayo sa fungal infection. Okay, any questions about the adverse effects of the drug? Questions po? We're good? Okay, let's go to prescription writing. So as we mentioned, who writes the prescription? The doctor, the dentist, and the prescription is for the pharmacist to supply medication on the patient. And this is the proper way of writing the prescription. So we have the 4 parts ng prescription. So we have the superscription, from the heading up to the symbol RX is called super infection. And then you have the inscription, which contains the name of the drug, the dose, and the dosage form. And then you have the subscription, which contains the instruction to the pharmacist. And then you have the transcription, which includes the instruction to the patient. Okay? So those are the different parts of the prescription. Meron din yung heading, body, and closing. Yung ibang books, it's heading, body, and closing. But the more common is the SIST. Superscription, inscription, subscription, transcription, or SIGNA. Okay. So when we write prescription, we use we need numbers, di ba? Kasi we write dosage, no? And there are 2 systems which is used in when we write prescription. The new one is called metric. Metric tayo ngayon, di ba? Even in weight, hindi na siya pounds. It's in kilograms. So dati, di ba, pounds. Ngayon, it's in kilogram. So, mas easier kasi ang metric. And kasi metric, it's a matter of 1,000. And then you have the old system, which is called the apothecary system. So in the metric system, weight is in kilogram, gram, milligram. Volume is in terms of liter, ml. Ang solid, if the drug is solid, it has milligram. Kapag liquid, we express it in volume. Volume, yung liter, it's the amount of the liquid, di ba? It's not the amount of the drug. Pag liquid. Kaya merong 150 milligram per 5 ml. Parang ano din yan, di ba? 150 milligram per tablet. So, sa liquid, if the prescription is liquid, we express the volume in terms of liter, but it is not the drug, not the amount of the drug, it's the amount of the volume. You get me? Intindihan tayo? Okay lang? Hello? Hello po?
Yes po.
Okay.
Yes, po.
So, okay. Sa apothecary, weight is in terms of grain. May mga gamot, there are still drugs which is expressed in grain. Usually, yung mga anticonvulsant, sa grain pa rin siya eh. 60 grain per tablet. So, may mga gamot which is given in grain. And that's the most common unit, no? For weight in the apothecary system. Tayo metric na tayo ngayon. Although meron pa ding grain, pero mas madali kasi ang metric, no? 'Di ba? Alam, you just 1,000 lang naman yan eh. Okay, no? So usually, as we mentioned, we have certain rules. By the way, this is the, saan na ba yun? Ay, wala pala dito. Hindi ko pala nasulat. Anyway, okay, the conversion is here. No? 1 grain is equivalent to 60 milligram. That's the equivalent. Yun yung pinaka-importante. Okay. So when we give or when we write prescription for children, we need to lower the dose. Okay. And these are the old system. Di na daw to ginagamit. Kasi ang ginagamit na is body weight. Sabi ko nga kanina, di ba, ang ano natin is expressed in body weight, milligram per kilogram per day. Hindi na siya 150 milligram. Adult dose yun eh. 350 milligram 3 times a day. That's the adult dose. Now, they don't use the adult dose na daw. Ang ginagamit na is the body weight. Milligram per kilogram. Okay. So, kaya lang, please take note of the Clarks kasi binibigay pa rin to sa board exams. Hindi ko lang alam kasi there are dalawa, yung mga kukuha ng board exams, there are 2 new examiner. Okay. And I think both of them is from UP. So, kaya sinasabi nila medyo mas mahirap daw ang board exams. No? Kasi bago yung kanilang, may 2 bagong examiner. Tapos, ang tawag dito, pag bago kasi talagang, syempre medyo mahirap. No? Kasi you don't know, hindi mo pa kilala yung board examiner, so you don't know how yung kanyang manner of questioning, yung mga ganon. No? And I suggest for those who are going to take the board exam, mag-research kayo. Ano yung subject, no? Ano yung, if you have friends, I think both of the examiner are academician naman eh. So baka nagturo, no? Baka may kilala kayo na they know ano yung technique, no? You ask ano yung subjects na bibigay nila sa board exams. Kasi actually the questions will depend on the examiner eh. And mas madalas kapag bago ang examiner, bago ang exams. So medyo i-research nyo, no? Kasi kung kukuha na kayo ngayon, you'll be the first batch ng mga bagong examiner. Yun yung mga usap-usapan namin sa mga iba't ibang schools, no? And I think yesterday they had conference. I don't know kung merong umattend sa Fatima yesterday. No, nung Thursday ata. They had parang conference with the examiner. Hindi ko lang alam kung nag-send ng representative ang Fatima. So most of the dental schools has been invited para ma-orient ng mga bagong examiner. Okay, no? And dati Clark's rule hindi yan nawawala sa board exams questions. So before, no, these rules, this way of computing, it is based on adult dose. Hindi siya based on body weight. So sabi natin weight and age, no? So Clark's is weight, it has to be in pounds, times the adult dose divided by 150 will give us the child's dose. Please take note of this, no? Kasi talagang hindi ito nawawala sa exam. So one way of computing for the child's dose is weight, but it has to be in pounds, times adult dose. Hindi recommended yung dose. It's the adult dose over 150. For the formula for age, no, one is Freud's rule. So this is called infant's dose. Freud's rule was used to compute for children from 0 to 2. Kaya infant eh. No? 0 to 2 ang age ng bata. And this is the formula. So if you're given age, no, titignan nyo na lang kung ano yung age. Fried is infant's dose. It's age in months times the adult dose over 150. And usually, this is used for children from 0 to 2 years old. From 2 to 12, no, this is youngs and cowlings. Depende lang sa ang formula. But pareho sila, no? It uses age, and ang age is between 2 to 12 years old. So this is the formula. So why is 0 to 12? Fried is 0 to 2. Youngs and cowlings, 2 to 12. Clark's is weight, no? So, bakit hanggang 12? Kasi pag 13 na, considered as adult. No need to compute. If the patient is 13, it's already considered as an adult dose. And then you have the body surface area. Usually, body surface area is in meters squared. This is used for computing in patients na hindi reliable ang weight. Yung mga, they use this even in it can also be used kapag adult. So may formula siya, no? So it's expressed in meters squared. Usually recommended to kapag hindi reliable ang weight. So that's the formula. Okay, so now we're using body weight. So that this is how they compute for the weight. Not only for the child, but for individualizing dosage. So body weight is in kilogram times the recommended dose, which is milligram per kilogram per day. Then it will give you the dosage per day. And to determine frequency is the number of times a day. You just divide it by the number of times a day. So kung 4 times a day, di-divide mo siya by 4. Kung 3 times a day, di-divide mo siya by 3. So after computing for the recommended, computing this way, you're given per day yan, sa isang araw. Eh kung isang araw is you take it 3 times a day, so you divide it by 3 days. So we'll give you the dose. So, 250 milligrams 3 times a day, if ever. That's how they compute. So based on the body weight. Okay? When we express in frequency, diba? Diba meron tayong, sometimes when we look at the prescription, it's in hours, every 6 hours, every 4 hours, no? How do we translate it to times a day? Dalawa yung formula. One is called the 24-hour formula. So this is called tawag nila dito is 24 hours. So kino-compute siya based on around the clock RTC. OTC is over the counter. Meron tinatawag silang round the clock RTC. RTC means it's round the clock. The frequency is computed based on a 24-hour system. Ito yung tipo na hindi ka tumitigil. If your schedule is in 2 o'clock, iinom ka ng 2 o'clock, even if it's in the morning. Kaya nga round the clock. Tuloy-tuloy. No? Based on the 24. So if it's 6 hours round the clock, you divide 24 by 6. So that's 4 times a day. If your dose falls on 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, you take it ng ganun. So it's kaya round the clock. ITC ang tawag dyan. No? And for us sa dentistry, ang ginagamit natin to compute is the 16-hour basis. Divided yung 16. Kasi supposed to be, di ba? Why 16? Kasi there are 24 hours in a day and you're supposed to sleep 8 hours in a day. So the 1 day for you is 16 hours. In a 16 hour, nag-e-end yan for that day. You start again. So kung 3 times a day, if you sleep, you wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, you sleep ng 10 o'clock, so yung 10 o'clock, dapat before 10, tapos na yung third dose mo o yung last dose mo. You start again in the morning, unlike in around the clock. Pero it's the same, except that you divide it by 16. 16 divided by the number of hours will give you the number of times in a day. Okay? That's how it's computed. Okay? Questions po? Okay. So, alam niyo naman to siguro, no? Okay, no? So, although nowadays, hindi naman na kailangan ng ang Latin abbreviation, yung mga PRN, TID, BID, hindi na siya masyadong ginagamit. Before, when you write prescription, it has to be in Latin. But now, you don't really have to. Although may mga ibang, before, lumalabas pa rin ko minsan. Yung mga basic, yung mga bago. TID, QID, PRN, STAT, PO. So, may mga Latin abbreviations pa rin, but not anymore used. So, siguro tingnan nyo na lang, especially for those who's going to take the board exams, baka lang lumabas. And usually, it's the more common. Yan yung mga symbol, no? And then you have the Latin abbreviation and the English translation. Okay. Questions about the first part? Absorption, distribution, effects, excretion. So, anong branch nga ng pharma yan? Anong deals with the movement or how the body handles the drug from the time of administration to the time of excretion? Anong branch ng pharmacology? Hello? Kung minsan lumalabas pa yan sa board exams, ha? So don't take that for granted. Yung mga posology, pharmacognosy, pharmacotherapeutics, pharmacodynamics. So, kaya nga, no? Tandaan nyo na lang. Dali naman yan tandaan. Therapeutics is therapy. Medicine. Dynamics is effects. Kinetics is movement. Toxicology is undesirable. So, hindi naman yan mahirap, no? You don't have to memorize siguro the whole thing, but find something which makes you remember the subdivision. Okay. Questions po? What happened to my... Wait lang. May tanong po. Can we leave the first part? Okay na? Wala nang tanong? We're good? Okay. So let's go to the second part. Now let's go to specific drugs. Medyo talagang information overload ang pharma, di ba? No? And can you imagine kung medical, dental na nga lang eh. Medyo ang hirap pa, di ba? What more if we have to discuss in details, no? Siguro kaya mahirap yung niya eh. Mahirap yung pharma nyo. Kasi pag doctor talaga ang nagtuturo, medyo mas mahirap. Kasi lalo na pag hindi dental, hindi ko masyadong one is I don't have experience in giving this medicine. So siguro kung gusto niyo ng medical, mas maganda if ask the doctor kasi hindi naman natin siya ginagamit. So, but if it's dental, usually, ang tawag dyan, usually mas, feeling ko kasi mas kailangan natin ang dental. Wait lang kung makita yung aking